July 12th, 2022, Charlton Board of Selectmen's meeting. It is 6:30 PM. If everyone could please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. We've got a pretty robust agenda tonight, but not too bad. I think we can probably move right through it. If we go to community relations.
Oh, I'm sorry, Mr. Chairman.
Oh, no, actually, the minutes of the last meeting of June 14th and special meetings of June 15th.
Mr. Chairman, unless there's an objection by colleagues, I would motion that we approve them both together.
I second the motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Now we can move on to community relations.
Patsy,
And
Patsy,
we'll get to appointments.
Patsy, you want to read that, or do you want me to?
I'll read it.
You got it.
Charlton Police Department is enforcing pedestrian and bicycle enforcement for the month of July with NHTSA funds through EOPSS programs. July Fun at the Charlton Public Library, Music Through the Decades with David Polanski. Thursday, July 28th, 6:30, Dexter Hall Auditorium. The Norman Rockwell Museum commissioned David Polanski to develop Music Through the Decades, a fun-filled hour in which you will learn how the last 100-plus years of American and world history have inspired so many of the songs we love. Using keyboard, trumpet, and vocals, David presents the music of George M. Cohan, Fats Waller, Irvin Berlin, Hoagie Carmichael, and a host of others. Music inspired by the advent of the automobile, the two world wars, the Roaring '20s, the Great Depression, the Wild West, and much more. David engages the audience, takes questions and requests, and tells funny anecdotes about famous musicians as well as some about his own life as a musician. David has a Louis Armstrong impression that is so authentic that he's often asked if it is a recording. This is a must-see program. A career musician, David has played with Sandler and Young, Phyllis Diller, Henny Youngman, Ray Bolger, Arthur Fiedler, and many more. Registration is not required. This program is supported in part by a grant from the Charlton Cultural Council, a local agency which is supported by the Mass Cultural Council, a state agency. Balloon Animal Twisting Workshop, Monday, July 5th, 10:30 to 11:30, Dexter Hall Auditorium. Learn wildlife balloon twisting with Ed the Wizard. It's easy as fold, pinch, and twist. This workshop is for kids and teens ages 7 and older. Space is limited to 30 participants. Registration is required. Registration opens July 1st. This program is supported by a grant from the Charlton Cultural Council, a local agency which is supported by the Mass Cultural Council's a state agency. One World, a story, song, and hands-on musical instrument experience, Friday, July 15th, 2 to 3:30, Dexter Hall Auditorium. Acclaimed storyteller, musician John Persino will take folks on a whirlwind tour around the world. We will travel beyond the beaten path as he tells funny and moving stories from many of the world's people and plays fascinating and beautiful musical instruments from many of the places they come from. Participants will be invited to try out the instruments at the end of the show. Since 1983, John has been weaving stories, songs, and music that celebrate the magic of reading a good book, tickle life's funny bone, touch the heart, and give a little boost to our hero's journey. This all-ages show is brought to you by the Charlton Public Library and the Charlton Senior Center. Registration is not required. Supported in part by the Charlton Cultural Council. Thank you.
Okay, and so we're approaching 6:45. Oh, and we're closing open forum.
No, community forum, in case anybody wants to speak.
Oh, I'm sorry, go ahead.
What's up, Bob?
Hi, Don Konopacki, I'm with the Charlton Arts and Activities Center, and I'm just here to remind everyone that we're getting the return of the annual Blueberry Festival after a 2-year hiatus. It's going to be at Four Dresser Hill. It's returning on Sunday, July 31st from 10 in the morning till 4 in the afternoon. It's going to feature blueberry pies and fresh-picked blueberries from Fay Mountain Farm, as well as blueberry shortcake, blueberry flavored ice cream, smoothies, popcorn, lemonade, and cotton candy. There'll be over 40 booths with crafts as well as additional booths with nonprofit as well as for-profit things. For entertainment, we're having 2 bands. First in the morning will be the Hip Swayers, and then in the afternoon will be Blake and Emma. There will be another, make sure I don't miss anything. There's going to be an expanded exotic animal show from previous years. We're going to have 3 additional animals, so you'll be able to see things like bush babies and coyotes and other things. Maggie the Clown will be giving a magic show at it. And there will also be several kid-friendly activities, which includes bounce house, sand art booths, face painting, and other things. So we encourage everyone to come. We are a little short-handed, so if anyone would like to help out for maybe even just an hour, you can email us at charltonarts7@gmail.com. Thank you very much.
No,
Thanks, Don.
and thank you, thank you.
Is it true that the school committee is having a pie eating contest? No? Okay.
Not this time around.
Whatever. Selectmen would, but whatever.
So if we could move on, it makes sense at 6:45 to the pinning of the 3 new firefighters, since we have quite a few of them here. We'd love to have this opportunity and stay on program, but
Hey, Jason.
Good evening, everyone. Deputy Chief Jason Cantara from the Charlton Fire Department. The fire chief sends his regrets for not attending this evening. He's currently responding as part of the District 7 Task Force Forestry to the town of Granby. So he's on his way out there. Actually, he's in the storms as we speak. I'm honored tonight. We're gathered here to acknowledge 3 of our permanent firefighters with their pinning ceremony. We are joined by family, friends, and fellow colleagues. And then I would like to introduce each of them, each of our members, as they will be have their assigned badge pinned to them. So with your permission, I'd like to start by calling upon firefighter paramedic Autumn Corville. Just stay right there. Autumn was appointed as a career firefighter paramedic in April of 2021. Autumn has been a paramedic for nearly 2 years. Autumn completed the Massachusetts Career Firefighting Academy in December of 2021. Currently assigned to Group 1, she will be pinned by her boyfriend of a long time, Lieutenant Sean Moyna from the Sturbridge Fire Department.
Come on up and get your picks. It's all good.
Yep, get in there.
Hold on, wait a minute.
Take your time, take your time.
You're welcome to come over this direction.
Oh, yeah, come on, yeah.
yeah, please,
Yeah, this is about you guys tonight.
future.
Now you have your pin, now you have your
Pretend
pin
to do
on
it
again.
again.
Pretend to do it again, exactly.
Didn't draw blood.
We'll take pictures outside. All right, thank you.
Thanks, Autumn.
Thank you. Next, I'd like to call upon firefighter EMT Michael Mearsman. Michael was appointed as a call firefighter EMT in 2019. Michael completed the call volunteer firefighter recruit program in 2020. Then became a provisional firefighter EMT in April of 2021 and was made a permanent firefighter EMT in 2021. Completed the Massachusetts Career Firefighting Academy in May of 2022. Currently, Mike is assigned to Group Number 2, and he will be pinned by his wife, Marlena.
Hold on.
That's awesome.
Pictures.
Come on. Rookies. Well done.
Very good. Thank you. Last but not least, right? I'd like to introduce to you firefighter paramedic Zachary Zarcone. Appointed as a career firefighter paramedic in November 2021, Zachary completed the Massachusetts Firefighting Academy in May of 2022. Zachary is currently assigned to Group Number 4, and he will be pinned by his girlfriend Jennifer McDermott.
Do we have a paramedic in the room?
That concludes our pinning ceremony. I'd like to thank the Board of Selectmen and also the town administrator for their support, and thank you very much.
And thank you all and welcome. Be safe. Thank you so much for your time, dedication. I see your names all over town. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Yep.
Thank you. Guys, please be safe out there.
And so now we're
Do you
gonna
wanna
go
just hit the
back up
next-
to,
Do you want to just hit the next scheduled appointment, then we can go back up since we're on time?
The fourth row, guys?
Foursquare?
Yeah, well, I have them on soon.
Oh, I think their lawyer's poking on it, so.
Yeah, is-
Yeah, you know what, let me go look.
Yeah, just go take a look.
It's a lot less crowded now.
Come on.
So we're gonna Foursquare?
I just figured let's keep them on. Let's keep the scheduled
You
appointments
got
on
a couple
schedule.
minutes, you could just knock out the appointment for number one.
Okay, so
All
then,
right.
so then we move this over to Andrew for, oh, here's Foursquare.
Yeah, there's Dan.
Evening, guys.
Is there anybody you need me to pull in, Dan?
Yes, I think Pat Casey and Matt Wilkes are both on via Zoom.
Yeah.
And I think Mary mentioned that I just did a brief letter update. I brought some copies in case they
Yep.
didn't make it in
Oh, yeah.
time.
Yeah, I think we have
She
them.
said they might have made it in, but if you guys don't have them, I can circulate them.
Yeah, Dan, I think we're good. Yep.
Yeah.
Dan, you got yours, right? Oh, I'm sorry, maybe you don't.
Just in case.
Thanks. Yes, sir.
And so now we're moving on to our 6:55 appointment, an appointment to, 6:55.
I'm not sure if I can stay. Well, tell me, because I've actually been trying to actually approach this company from a sales perspective.
You're out.
Go sit over there.
Stop the word, and like, I just reached out trying to get a hold of the people who make, yeah, I guess I got to stay.
You and your ethics.
No, ethics is important.
All right, Dan, how we doing?
Good,
Okay.
good.
How are you? Yeah,
I'm
go right
great.
ahead. Give us the
Yeah.
updates.
I will, yeah, thank you guys. Tough to follow a really awesome pinning of some firefighters, but I'll be brief and quick. And so thank you all. It's great to see you guys be in person, of course. For the record, Dan Glissman, attorney with Prince Lobel, here on behalf of Foursquare Holdings, Terps, in connection with the proposed marijuana retailer and cultivation facility at 144 Sturbridge Road. Here to just give everybody a brief update. I don't know if folks have driven by the facility recently, but the construction is now complete on the dispensary component. It's looking really nice. They have a beautiful sign in front of the door. The lot's been completely repaved and restriped, and they've made some significant progress on the state licensing component as well. So they have, like I said, their certificate of occupancy for the retail piece. That allowed them to commence what's called the post-provisional license inspection process, which they engaged with the Cannabis Control Commission on May 25th. And they passed with flying colors, no deficiencies were noted, and so that has now, jettisoned them into the next phase, which is the receipt of their actual final license from the Cannabis Control Commission. The agenda for Thursday's meeting was just released this morning, and they are on the agenda for Thursday, so typically, at least in my experience, if the staff recommends an approval of a final license, and you get on the agenda, it's typically the natural course that the commission will review it and typically approve it. So we don't anticipate any issues on Thursday's meeting, but they're up Thursday morning for their final license. If approved on Thursday, they'll receive the actual final license, which is the second to last step, if you will, from the Cannabis Control Commission, where they will now be able to bring product into the facility, finalize all the employees and the hiring and their badging and get everybody, get the store really ready to open. Then the state will come in for what's called the post-final license inspection. And then if all things go well at that inspection, they'll be granted their commence operations letter from the state, which allows them to commence operations within 3 business days of the receipt of that letter. So, ideally, the anticipation would be a early August, in a perfect world, late July, but most likely in August approval, just depending on inspections. And that's really the full update here. I did have one thing I wanted to just bring to the board's attention. When we originally went through the process with the planning board, there was a request to put some no parking signage on Sampson Road, so folks weren't parking across the street and trying to, jog across Route 20. Not a good idea, of course. So we, I wanted to just check back in with the board on that. I believe we have to come to the board to get approval for any, temporary street signage. But, I'm not sure that, obviously, when this was approved several years ago, we were in a little bit of a different world in terms of cannabis, and when you were opening a store, there was oftentimes a line down the street and some parking, and now, obviously, it's normalized significantly, so there's less traffic specifically on opening day. In fact, and I'm sure Matt and Pat could comment on this, but it takes several months to kind of build up to what your hopeful, standard steady run rate's going to be. Obviously, more than happy to still post the signage as necessary, but thought I would just sort of bring that to the board's attention and cover it in the event that it's no longer necessary.
Through a chair?
Yeah, go ahead.
Generally, I don't like to counter planning board stuff. However, if you talk to them and they say you don't need it, I'm fine with you not putting it up. Because I think the grand rush from a couple years ago, from when this process first started, to your point, has been truly mitigated by just the number of shops that are opening.
Right.
So again, I don't ever like to say no to a condition of a different board. So, but if you can get them to drop it, I have no qualms about saying, yeah, you don't need them.
Absolutely. Yeah, we'll check back.
Yeah, it's a completely, Route 20 West is a completely different world than it was 3 years ago.
Yeah.
With
Absolutely.
Amazon, everything else, traffic's gonna be slowing down, there's gonna be more lights going in.
So,
But that was an order from the planning board then, or?
Yeah, that's my recollection, was that it
Think so.
was a condition on the license. Shame on me, I didn't check before the meeting here. I just recalled it as I was sitting here, so. But yeah, my recollection is that it was a condition, so it may be that just as a matter of course, we'll come back,
just procedure, I think.
and get those up. And obviously, it won't hurt to have them up, of course, just out of an abundance of caution, so.
I'm fine either way.
Okay.
And again, assuming the planning board agrees or doesn't agree, and you got to put them on.
There was a little bit of a question, so I'm assuming they hired you as their attorney now?
Correct, yes.
All right.
Yep.
Yeah, the only thing I'd say.
There was a little transitional
That's right.
questioning.
Yeah, no,
between
they've been fantastic, and
Good.
Pat and Matt
Good.
here, both on here, brought me on, essentially immediately as soon as they took over control of the company, and which has been great. I've been able to interface with the municipality and continue making sure that we're moving forward. And I did submit this letter. It's very brief, and there's a couple of pictures of the interior, also a copy of the commission's agenda, just for reference.
Okay. Do any of these gentlemen or people on want to chime in here or take a few minutes?
Pat, that means you and
Patrick?
Sure, I'd just like to say hello. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Yeah, okay. Again, to reiterate what Dan said about pinning, one of my best friends is Chief 3 at the Warwick Fire Department, and I understand how important those ceremonies are, and it was quite impressive, and you could tell everybody was very happy. As far as us opening up, Dan gave a very good summary of what's happening. We have also completed some of the work for phase 2, which is the cultivation, as part of the build out of the dispensary. And I do realize that's important to the town, that we continue moving forward on that part. So that is underway right now, but we're concentrating on getting the dispensary open as quickly as possible. We have workmen coming out tomorrow and putting the POS stations in. Anytime anybody wants to take a quick tour of the place and take a look at it, they're more than welcome to. Just reach out to myself, reach out to Matt. We can put in touch with our security people, and we'd be more than happy to give you a quick tour of the facility, and we can take a look at all the work. And I believe you folks will be happily impressed.
Okay, great, yeah.
Yeah.
If any other further comments from Matt or anybody else on your team?
For me, we appreciate your time. I think Pat and Dan said it nicely.
Yeah.
I don't have anything to add.
So if you guys aren't going to be, if you're not planning on cultivating right away, you're going to be trucking your product in from, it's really none of our business probably, but.
Yeah, I mean, the whole set.
No,
Go ahead.
correct.
Go ahead, Pat.
We have an inventory manager, and we have 2 other dispensaries open right now, so we buy for more than Charlton. So, and we also have a contract with a company that is able to transfer stock from one store to the other, and we'll be purchasing stock to sell in the place. So we're just going to be wholesale, basically,
Very good.
purchasing wholesale right now until we have our own permit.
Yeah, Mr. Chair, the only thing I'd add is, Dan, I know I was kind of a stickler for those 6-month extensions, but you've done everything I've asked, so you don't need another extension, at least for me at this point. It sounds like in the next month or two, at the latest, that you'll be good to go. I'd only ask that, you let Andrew know what happens on the 14th, and just kind of keep us updated what's going on, especially if you have like some ribbon cutting ceremony, we'll show up, because we always like when new businesses come in.
I swore years ago when we first had that planning board meeting, because, that I was gonna be the one who cut that ribbon with that project.
Well, that might be a condition that you
That
missed.
can
Yeah,
be
I mean-
arranged.
Yeah, absolutely.
I was the first person to hear this plan.
Yeah, that's right, yeah.
Like,
Is
That can be arranged.
Yeah,
the
yeah.
ribbon yellow or is it green? Not that it really.
It's the typical ribbon, although it's not a bad idea.
Really want
you
one of
know?
those big scissors to make it really formal.
Oh, absolutely.
Right.
Yeah, so Dan, like I said, if it's all right, just kind of keep us updated on the progress. So it sounds like the next big day is the 14th, and if you get that, then it's just to your point around procedural issues with the state, which I also know can be, it's the state, let's be clear. But yeah, like I said, just let us know, and I don't want to curse you guys, but officially welcome to town.
All right, yeah, thank you all very
Thank
much. Yeah, we're really excited.
Yeah.
This is
No,
awesome.
yeah.
Long time coming, I know, but really exciting.
Just pay your taxes on time. No, I'm kidding.
Roger that.
Yeah, you guys,
Okay, not,
Yeah, you know what? Yeah.
you guys went through definitely went through the hurdles. But
Yeah,
Well done.
very exciting.
Thank you.
Very good.
Good to go.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
Dan.
Yes.
Thanks, Pat. Thanks, Matt.
Dan. Yeah.
Thank you all.
thank you very much. Thank you. Bye.
Thanks, guys.
Dan, if you see David out there, you want to bring him back in?
I will, yeah.
You get much better at Zoom.
Then we will probably,
I'm trying.
Andrew, then I would think we would move on to appointments.
Alrighty.
As we have
All right,
several
sure,
fine
as I get through
people
this,
here
David
to-
will probably be on his way back in.
35 applications.
Yeah, so under, so,
35 applications.
yeah, so our light equipment operator, we did have 35 applications that were received for the light equipment operator position, of which 9 met the licensing requirements. 5 of the applicants lived outside of the acceptable response area. 4 were offered interviews, of which 2 declined and 1 never responded. 1 interview was held with the final qualified candidate. As there's a need to fill this position as soon as possible, the board signed the appointment letter, and tonight you'll be being asked to formally appoint Adam Vander Ville to this position effective July 11th, 2022. This is a highway union position.
So moved, and welcome to Adam, even though I know he's been around.
Second.
Yeah, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Congratulations.
All right. Old Home Day Committee. Attached is a talent bank form from Cindy Saucier seeking to be appointed to the Old Home Day Committee. The Old Home Day Committee is recommending the appointment, and I concur. The expiration date for this appointment would be June 30th, 2023.
So moved, and thank you to Cindy.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Congratulations, Cindy.
All right.
She'll be a very valuable.
Appointment for the Republican Board of Registrar. There's been a need to fill the Republican Board of Registrars seat vacated by Joanne Powell. We have reached out to the Charlton Republican Town Committee, who is recommending the appointment of Andrew Locanto as Republican Board of Registrar. The term expiration for this appointment is April 1st, 2025. I'd recommend the board make the appointment.
So moved, and thank you to Andrew.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Well, resignation from the Lakes and Ponds Committee. At your last board meeting, Stanley Lewandowski was reappointed to the Lakes and Ponds Committee. He has since notified us that he is unable to serve on this committee at this time. The board should accept his resignation, and a letter thanking him for his service is in your sign folder.
Motion to accept with regret, because Stanley's done an awful lot for for
Yeah,
that
he
committee,
has.
so he's gonna be a loss, but again, thank you for everything he did.
I second the motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Right, and the final one is a resignation of the WRTA representative. Attaches a resignation from James Nee resigning his position as the town's WRTA representative. He'll be starting a new job soon and feels that there may be a conflict if he continues in this position. A letter thanking him for his service to the town is in your sign folder. The board should accept his resignation.
Yeah, I'm not sure if Jim needs to do this, but I admire the fact that he doesn't want to have any type of gray area, which I think is really important anytime we talk about government service, so I think he should be commended for that, because if anyone ever asks the question, it's sometimes like, oh, if you have to ask the question, it's one of those maybe you shouldn't be doing anyway, so I actually admire him for being proactive on this, so,
Yes.
motion to accept with regret.
I agree. I agree.
Second the motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? You're none? Good.
All right, so moving on, we have the consideration of increasing the sealer of weights and measures fees. So Ron Valinsky, our sealer of weights and measures, is asking the board to consider an increase in the weights and measures fees to be comparable to other towns. The last time the fee for these were changed was back on September 25th, 2007. I'd recommend the board approve the request and increase the fees as submitted.
Mr. Chairman, I have a quick question on this. Andrew, where's this money go? In the general fund?
It pays for the service of his, it basically, a portion of his general fund, most of it's general fund, but generally to his, it funds his position.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right, because if it was just going to the general fund, I'd probably say no, but if it's actually basically offsetting his compensation,
Yeah.
it allows us, in a sense, to break even and then take it that
Yeah.
way. So that being said, I'll make a motion to approve.
I second the motion.
Mr. Chair? So what are the fees compared to other towns? Do we know what the actual difference is between us and neighboring communities?
The second page.
We do.
Oxford,
Yeah, there's
Auburn,
quite a bit of.
Oh, here we go. So this
Yep.
is, so we're, well, so the first chart is what he wants to go to, or where we're at now?
So the first chart is what he's looking to go to, the second chart is where we are at currently. The remaining charts are the towns of Oxford, Auburn,
I see.
Millbury, and Leicester.
So, you know how I feel about fees. We actually just took an action recently by this board to lower fees that were under our control. The sealer of weights and measures, how do they get paid?
Generally, they have a small stipend to the town, and then primarily through the fees themselves.
Okay, so do we know what that comes to per year, what the town makes off the fees?
I don't have that number in front of me, but I could belay this discussion to get that information for you.
I'd like that information. I'd like to also take a look, because I'm not gonna say I'm opposed to it, although I am opposed to raising fees, unless it's absolutely necessary. I'd like to go over it and just do a comparison, because if we did have to do something to try and help our sealer of weights and measures, maybe we can do an increase that's not quite so big. I don't ever believe in keeping up with the Joneses. Just because another town is poorly run and managed doesn't mean we have to do the same thing they do financially. If it's okay with you guys?
Yeah, I was saying, out of respect for the request, I will rescind my motion.
Yep, and I rescind my
And
second.
even on that note, and people can look at this, I mean, if you look at the test and seal scale, 10,000 pounds plus, the fee would go from $90 to $175. So I tend to agree with David, maybe we.
That's fine. I will look at what our typical intake is from that and what the total general compensation is. We'll have that information for your next meeting for consideration.
Yeah, and that would help, because that also helps us determine what the difference would be in that person's annual income from the job, knowing what the fees would be.
Correct. Okay, so, well, I'll accept the motion. We're gonna, you rescinded your motion.
Yeah, two
so-
senators, yeah, so we're just gonna table it to the next
So you're
meeting.
gonna bring
So,
back.
we're gonna table
we're
it to the
gonna-
next meeting, so.
The information you'll bring is what we pay him,
His total
for his-
compensation and
total
how much the town takes
compensation,
in.
like if, like including any mileage or anything else, what, I don't know if that's part of it, whatever, no, just, so it's just an overall stipend.
Correct.
So we'll know what they were making and what they would be making with the
And how,
suggested change.
and how many, like the last 2 or 3 years worth of fees that we've collected, so we can kind of look at, like, an average of what we annually collect.
So actually, in addition to what Patsy asked, how many locations, if you will, in Charlton do we have to have someone seal weights and measures?
Okay.
Is it just gas stations?
That's the one I'm aware of. I believe grocery stores and those
Can we
also
find
have
out?
to get
'Cause there's
those.
only 2 or 3, it's not
Anytime
that
you have to
much.
No,
weigh.
yeah, but then you've got oil companies and
Well, that's what I
other
wanna
things.
find
Yeah,
out
yeah,
how-
yeah.
Well,
How
based
many-
on
I
any-
don't know what, I honestly don't know what 10,000 pounds is, yeah.
Right, and it's about the stipend, what are
When
we
I sit down,
paying?
that's 10,000 pounds sitting
We
there.
don't need to profit on it, but we should be covering our
Yep.
costs.
Okay, easy enough.
Broken many chairs.
Okay, so then we have a motion
Table.
It was
That was a
rescinded.
table, yeah.
Table.
on the table to table this until, all in favor?
Sure, yeah.
Any opposed? None.
All right, our FY '23 Fuel Procurement Award. So Charlton participated in the FY '23 Regional Fuel Procurement Program through CMRPC. Due to a recent fluctuation in the markets, prices surged and rates are now higher than last year, unsurprisingly. Prices were solicited for gas, diesel, heating oil, and propane with a guaranteed markup price that will be added to the base market price. The quotes submitted are as below, and I'd recommend the board enter into contracts with the following vendors. Charlton Oil, 50 cents over the global market price. Propane, same Charlton Oil, 40 cents over the Selkirk market price. Unleaded gas, Dennis K. Burke, Inc., a markup of 65 cents over the NYMEX rate. And diesel, Dennis K. Burke, a markup of $1.60 over the NYMEX rate and $1.65 for a winter blend over the same rate.
And through the chair, Andrew, for those at home, these were the lowest bids, correct?
That is correct.
Motion to approve all as is.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? No.
All right.
Then we are moving on to, Andrew, to
Yeah.
more appointments now.
ARPA awards. Number 3, under new business. All right, so as part of the ARPA funding allocations, $20,000 was authorized to be expended under the Small Business and Nonprofit Grant Award Program. Awards for each round would be vetted by the Economic Development Commission with recommendations made to the Board of Selectmen for final award. There were scheduled to be 4 rounds of funding opportunity over the year. The maximum grant award that could be given to any single applicant was $20,000 for the purpose of economic recovery due to COVID-19. So far through this program, $182,000 had already been awarded, again, under the program. The Economic Development Commission has reviewed all the application and recommendations received under round 3 and are recommending the following awards. The Hair Depot Salon for $1,500, Charlton Grange number 92 for $3,500, Simon Says Entertainment for $2,500, Ed Stearns Dress Meats for $5,000, the Charlton Rays Foundation for $1,500, and the Dudley Charlton Educational Foundation for $4,000. Should the board approve the request as submitted, this would conclude the funding for the small business and nonprofit grant funds as all the funds would have been allocated. So the Board of Selectmen may take any action relative to this.
Motion to approve as requested.
I second the motion.
Any discussion?
The only comment that I will make is that my vote will again be no, and I will point out that it's nothing against the businesses that have asked. It's all wonderful reasons to give them the money. However, I will repeat that at the time the board took this up and talked about $200,000, it was before a lot of other items came before us that were urgent, critical needs that had to be paid for now. One of those alone, which is the police station repairs, would have been fully funded by this $200,000 pretty much, which we now have to ask the taxpayers for, which we would not have had to have asked the taxpayers for another $200,000 if we didn't do this. So my vote will be no.
Okay. The rules of the ARPA funds change from the time.
Correct, but it doesn't change the outcome. The fact
It
of the
doesn't,
matter is.
no, it doesn't change the
No,
outcome.
we-
I'm actually happy the fact that Rias is on here for $1,500.
Oh, good causes, but $200,000 that we still need to pay for a police station
Because
repairs.
the American Rescue Plan is going to, now it's going to at least rescue seniors on home heating oil. But so there was a motion
There's
to
a motion
accept
and a
and a
second.
second, and all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed?
No.
No. One opposed.
Going under old business, the next is for the Band Shell Development Committee membership. So at your last meeting, a Band Shell Development Committee was formed to come up with a design that would fit the town's rural character and be practical and bring it back to the board. The membership would be one Recreation Commission member, one Activities Council member, one Board of Selectmen member, and 2 members from the community. Selectman Zarowski was appointed at your last meeting as the board's representative, with Selectman Ridlack as the alternate. Talent Bank forms were received from Donald Konopacki as the Activities Council member and Sherry Zenka as the Recreation Commission member. I recommend the board make the appointments, and we are still in need of 2 members from the community to serve on that committee.
Mr. Chairman, so moved, and with thanks.
I have a question.
Yep.
Is there anything precluding someone from serving on more than one of these committees, Band Shell, Senior Center, or Community Center, Fire Department?
Nope, they're
So
all,
they can serve on more than one?
of course,
And we need more people still?
that's correct.
So if there's anyone here, they're welcome to email the town, Andrew Golis. There's no restriction on how many. You could be on all of them. Every single one.
Only restricted by your own time.
Okay, so we have a motion to approve that?
Mhm.
Okay, second on
Second.
that? Yeah. All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And
None
thank you.
opposed.
And thank you again.
Thank you so much.
All right, next would be for the Community Center Feasibility Committee membership. At the board's last meeting, Community Center Feasibility Committee was formed to come up with plans to take a look at Charlton furniture, if it's still available, and other alternatives to bring back to the board. If the membership would be 5 people maximum, with 1 Board of Selectmen member, 1 Finance Committee representative, 1 member from the Council on Aging, 1 senior that is not a, 1 citizen that is not a senior, and 1 citizen that is a senior. Talent Bank forms were received from Donald Konopacki, Michael Sarowski as a member of the Council on Aging, Patricia Stockwell, and Karen Riapel, right? Okay, thank you. I'd recommend that the board make the appointments. We have asked the Finance Committee to forward the name of their representative. The board should also appoint your representative to this committee.
Mr. Chairman, I'll say this is a fantastic list, and I can't wait to see what comes back for it, and I will happily make the motion.
I'll second that.
We have to find we have to also,
Come up with a BOS
want to
member.
do that
yeah.
after the fact?
Yes, please. Or at least we can figure that out.
And to find a, so that's a second vote for.
Yeah.
To find a
Okay.
select.
I second the motion.
Right. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Ayes have it. So now we need to pick a select person.
Pat, you want to do
Is
it?
that?
I'm on a lot of committees.
But
Is
you're-
that-
but
is
you're
that-
really
is that
good at it.
Barbara though, or is it?
No, no,
Wasn't she already on it?
No,
She's-
Barbara's doing band shell.
She's doing band shell and I'm her alternate, and
Patsy, I think you'd be great on this.
do you?
I really do. You know what, I'm just gonna be going on a limb and say, I'm gonna motion Patsy to do it.
How does the committee feel? How does Karen and I don't, is Pat here? I don't even know if I know who Pat is.
No, Patsy.
No. Okay.
Because I want to have the senior center in the
Nope, don't say
public
it, don't say
safety
it.
building.
Don't say it.
So if you
So-
want,
Don't lead the witness.
So no offense, I'm not going to second it unless you tell me that you want.
Yeah,
No, I'm not gonna put her on something she doesn't want.
I would.
so You know, Basha and I have been doing first and alternate, because we both
I'm
have
gonna make it.
young kids.
Yes, that you would be first and that Basha would be the alternate on this one.
So if that's the case, then I would love.
That's awesome.
Second.
I would. I would like to,
All in favor?
all in favor?
Aye.
No, it's still
Okay,
for
okay,
discussion.
okay, I wasn't trying to rush
It's
it.
still for discussion. I have a little bit, I want to talk about this.
Okay.
I would, this is a passionate thing that came up at town meeting, and I understand it. What I would like the committee to do and understand is bring to us some valid numbers of usage at the senior center, what we need. It's very easy for us to look at the town report, and we can see the activity the fire department has, and the increase in EMS calls, all that type of thing. And the fire chief's desire to maybe have a station two based on response time. Those are all easy numbers to look at. We don't know how many people.
Oh, don't worry, we'll be having surveys of people who
We
would.
don't know how many
We're good.
people use the senior center, or how many, and it helps us, it would help us gauge the priority level of it, right? It's, if nothing else.
I got this. I'm very good at this kind of stuff.
That's why I made the motion.
We'll have a plan all together, some great recommendations.
I don't know, is that a motion or no? All right, so all in
The
favor,
motion
then that's for
is
end of
already done.
discussion, I guess. All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed?
Patsy, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, so the next.
So with that, so we'll just, whoever, reach out to me and get me on an email and we'll figure out a time to meet.
We're actually past the discussion point. You already voted.
Oh, excuse me.
Andrew, can you help coordinate that?
All right, coming up, the Fire Department Substation Feasibility Committee membership. So at the board's last meeting, $50,000 was authorized to the fire department to get the architect to work with them on a plan for a substation and to establish a fire department substation feasibility committee to work with the chief. The membership would be 5 people maximum, one being the chief, the town administrator, a board of selectmen member, a builder, and a resident. Talent bank forms were received from Karen Riepel as the resident, Scott Cedar as the builder representative, and the board should also appoint your representative.
So I want to thank Karen once again for volunteering her time, as well as Scott, who I think is going to be great. So with that, again, with thanks, I'll make the motion to approve these two.
I second the motion?
All in favor?
Aye?
Aye.
Aye.
Thanks,
Any
Karen.
opposed? Passes. Congratulations, Karen.
All right, we should
Now,
also,
now we need to select a select board member on that.
any volunteers?
I think we should let the fire department choose who they like the best.
Tough call, Jason. So, Ms. Jenny, I would be really happy to do this. My only concern, for lack of a better word, is that my work schedule is about to get crazy, and I don't know how much of a dedicated member that I can be. I can certainly try, but there is a tremendous caveat that I don't know how great my attendance will be.
Do you want to do the alternate and representative, so there's always someone that shows up, like?
Honestly, that works for me, sure. I mean,
I would, I'm interested in this.
oh, then Steve, how about if you are primary?
Seems like thanks for
and-
not thinking about me.
Yeah, no, Steve.
No,
I'm sorry.
you.
No.
No, no.
Is it always about you?
No, Steve, if you want to do it, I'm actually, I would prefer that, and then, like, I could be your alternate if that works.
Yeah, if I
So
can.
David,
I'll
unless-
move to make Steve the primary and Bill Borowski the alternate.
Second.
And Dave, and so we're still open for discussion. So, and David's not gonna have you're not gonna have a hard feeling about this.
No.
I know.
Oh, God, no.
All right. So all
We would
in
love you
favor?
to chime in and pick your favorite. We would, absolutely, we really like that.
Not at all.
I know.
I.
Cool. Aye.
All in favor? All right.
Cool.
Any opposed?
No.
So
Steve, thank you for stepping up on that.
Yeah, this one's kind of Andrew.
All right, so no board of committee reports. So for Board of Selectmen policy review, presenting for consideration to the board a policy for meeting room use and taping of meetings for boards and committees under the selectmen's purview. So when town hall returned to in-person after COVID-19 was wrapping down, staff was urged to not have meetings in their offices unless they had sufficient space to do so, and to consider it of anticipated public participation. We also encourage all to tape their meetings so that way they could be replayed on the town's website. Knowing that space is tight in Town Hall, to say the least, we are asking the board to approve the attached policy so that all boards and committees appointed by the selectmen whose decisions affect property and residences in town will hold their meetings in the selectmen's meeting room, otherwise known as Meeting Room 1, or the senior center. So that way they have sufficient space for the public, and that the meetings can be recorded. The library would also be an acceptable option for this, and then the policy further encourages these meetings to be taped, replayed on the Town of Charleston's website when practical.
Through the chair, can I ask a question? I don't like the word encouraged. I think that I think the boards should be taped, mandatory.
So I agree with Patsy, but that's why I was reading it. I think it's already worded that way, the actual policy, and that's what I was gonna ask.
I don't
The
like,
policy actually says,
But it says when practical, that's the only.
when
concern.
practical, meaning executive sessions, you can't
Right.
televise executive sessions. But generally speaking, it says, shall have your meeting recorded and replayed when practical. Basically, if it's not practical, it's usually because legal reasons,
What's interesting is that
or clarify it.
since we kind of drafted this policy up, the House actually passed passed through a bill in this legislation that by next April, all public board and committee meetings must provide a hybrid option of attendance. I mean, I'm sure that there's going to be some pushback from towns saying that it'll be, it's an unfunded mandate from the state.
The Zooms are recordable.
Right, but, I'm just thinking of Massachusetts as large as it is, a lot of the smaller Western Mass communities that may not even have broadband yet may feel that this is an arduous.
Florida, Massachusetts is gonna go crazy on us.
Right,
the
so.
state never tells towns to
I'm
do
sure
things
that there
they
will be
won't pay
some
for.
pushback on the legislative front, but from the state level, this is
That's good,
it
yeah.
seems to be a statewide push to push all boards and committees in this direction, so I don't think this is far off from what state law is gonna be.
in our town specifically, we do have the ability to do so. And all of us have talked transparency, it's all about transparency, and to not have, it's perfect to always have a Zoom running so you have live participation, but if that's not the case, then these meetings should be recorded.
But for us, from what I understand, they are, selectmen appointed boards are recorded, but only until they can be documented down on paper and then they're deleted, right?
No,
Oh.
they're put on YouTube, and once they're up on YouTube.
Oh, I don't think so.
The public records law basically says that if there is a recording of a meeting, that has to remain in place until the minutes are approved.
Until the minutes.
Then it's no longer part of then it's no longer
it's deleted,
a
but
public
it's not published.
Then it's
But
no
it's not-
longer a public record. What we're saying is that, no, we're not thinking of this in terms of the public records law anymore. This is our policy that if you record, we're essentially saying you're going to utilize Zoom, you're going to record your meeting, and Drew will be available more days to record it however seems fit.
Thank you, Drew.
So eventually,
That recording
I
will
know,
be broken.
but
so eventually,
that's
they're all gonna be
everything from
deleted after they're
conservation to.
transcribed to written form anyway.
But ours are up
But
there
no,
anyways,
once
right?
they're-
You
once
can
they're on
go back
YouTube,
and see
they're up
them
there
from like
forever.
2016.
Board, essentially
Many
under the
board
open
law
records law, they have the option to, and
No, I
some
know.
boards currently have done that practice,
Okay.
which,
Yeah,
is-
I don't think that we need to
Yeah.
overcomplicate this. I mean, at least for me, as far as I'm concerned, every single board, if I had my perfect world, regardless of if they were appointed by the board of selectmen or not, every single one would be recorded. one way or another. So I think this policy basically is a good one that says, look, if you're not recording, there
Better
may.
have a good
Yeah, there
reason.
may be a good reason, like Drew,
Well-
like obviously Drew's sick, or, like there's something going on, but like outside of
that's
that.
even, but think about that, though, that's even like Old Home Day Committee, because they're appointed by, and anyone that the selectmen appoint.
But it says
If they're
for,
in here, well, actually, that's nice, because if they're meeting, the residents might want to hear what they're talking about doing.
so I think the
I know,
caveat,
But there's not a,
Sure.
Drew can't be in 50 places at
So
one
it-
time.
Whose decisions, but it specifically calls out whose decisions affect any property or resident in town,
Yeah.
i.e. Concom, zoning, Board of Appeals, et cetera. So something like Old Home Day would, like,
have to.
would not reach that level.
A permitting board,
I think really what we're talking, let's
and
let's
any
be
board
honest.
that's allowed to do
Yeah,
permits.
ZBA, Concom,
Yeah.
Planning.
Planning
no,
board.
planning's not appointed by us.
Yeah, but they make land decisions.
But it's not
But,
appointed by the
yeah,
Board of Selectmen.
yeah, we have no control over that. It's basically any decision-making board that we appoint, they should be recording
That's-
their
So
meetings.
years ago, the planning board were told that they had to, they didn't have an option, so they did.
And they should.
But that's the right thing to do. So I agree with you. I think that every board that has that kind of, that votes and makes decisions that affects land and property, should have, and it should be recorded, and it should be put in a public place where anybody can access.
So
And I mean specifically, and I did bring this up because I was looking for a conservation meeting, and I couldn't find it. So this is where this all came from. So specifically, conservation, if we could kind of assist them in any way to make sure that this practice, takes effect
Yeah.
soon.
No, whatever the catalyst was for this, I'm all in favor, let's put it that way, so.
if it's a permitting board, not Old Home Day doesn't do permitting.
No.
If it's a permitting, if it's.
Yeah. I mean, we can even call out, well, in fact, we actually do kind of say like, Conservation, Zoning, Board of Appeals. I mean, I know we say IE, but we could even specifically say Conservation Commission, Zoning Board. I mean, if it makes people feel better to say,
Yeah.
because really those are the two big ones that we appoint that have a larger impact on the residents. So we can modify the policy.
And Finance Committee already has them, right? They
Yeah.
already,
Yeah, so, but they're appointed by the moderator, so it wouldn't matter. So basically, maybe we just scratch the word et cetera, and just say i.e. Conservation Commission and Zoning Board of Appeals. Would that work for everybody? Because that way we've defined it, and if there's ever another board we end up appointing one day that we want to add, we can just modify the policy.
Sure.
Board of Health.
but they're not appointed.
They don't work.
They
for
are
us.
elected.
Yep.
I'm sorry, Drew. Yeah, correct, yeah.
Yeah.
So,
This is more about appointed boards.
yeah, so I think for now, what we're saying is that the policy is gonna be, look, don't go in private rooms, because I think it just causes unnecessary, strife. But for all intents and purposes, Conservation and Zoning Board of Appeals, it can either meet here, Senior Center, or Library, and make sure that your stuff is recorded. And, because I think it's just good for like town government. So we're just gonna scratch, et cetera, and if we ever wanna add somebody in, we can.
Can we just replace et cetera with permitting boards? Any board that's allowed to issue a permit, whether it's ZBA or.
I mean, I'm fine either way, I just can't think of any other boards that actually do permits. Because the Zoning Board of Appeals doesn't necessarily issue a permit.
Yeah, well.
They issue a land use decision.
Right, yeah, like a decision, but not
They
necessarily.
issue
Yeah.
variances, so.
I mean, I know where you're going with it, but I think by putting that in, it might actually complicate it, if that makes sense. But,
And
but-
So
you guys are
it
being nice,
doesn't-
I want to say all boards.
oh, I'd be fine with that, if we can, but.
I mean, until somebody argues differently. I mean, that's.
But then you're gonna have the Old Home Day Committee.
That's a committee, different story.
Okay, I'm just gonna make a motion for discussion, if nothing else, that we
Uh.
strike the word et cetera from the
That's fine.
policy. So that says i.e. Conservation Commission, Zoning Board of Appeals, period.
Second.
All in favor?
I'm good. with it.
Aye.
Aye. And if we want to adjust it later, we can absolutely adjust it later.
Yeah, all right,
It
moving on.
solves the immediate issue.
That was easy.
Just like that
Thank you,
Japanese
Bill.
philosophy, Kaizen, incremental improvements.
You're welcome, Drew.
Don't be fun with business,
And we are moving on to Board of Selectmen Committee reports.
None.
None.
I could have brought you Fay Mountain
I think we're at the,
Do you want me to do Fay Mountain Farm, even though we don't have it? Let me tell you. So the only committee meeting I've been to this month is Fay Mountain Farm. They haven't met for a while, so we're kind of reorganizing. We asked Mary for the original, the lease agreement and the original contract with the state for the purchase, and kind of make sure that we're in compliance with all of that. They needed some capital improvements, but there was actually money already reserved for that, the windows, and Andrew, you're working with. And again, there's a lot of other improvements, like the upstairs rafters are down, and it's not really safe. Like, there's some capital stuff that we're discussing, and as soon as we kind of get our hands around who is supposed to do what, and we'll kind of come to this board and educate you guys when we learn more.
cool, thank you. And I know Neil has blueberries and some raspberries over there, so everyone's stuff.
And the CSA is really great, so.
Yeah, and Board of Selectmen, Town Administrator goals and objectives, I don't think there's anything.
No, and I'll just take it out of my report here that,
Yeah,
since we're in the new fiscal year, next agenda, we should add the goals and objectives setting, unless
Yep.
you guys want to do a special workshop.
No, but I am gonna put you on the hook for the,
For my
your
report.
your town administrator report.
All right, so first of all, we received a $300,000 Public Health Excellence for Shared Services grant, and really, it's $300,000 per year for the next 7 years for this grant. The town of Charlton is the lead community on this initiative with the towns of Spencer, Sturbridge, Sutton, and Wales. It essentially allows the towns to leverage state funding for shared services, including inspectional services and public health nursing. Definitely want to give all the credit to Jim Philbrook, who coordinated this effort. He's been the head of the whole FEP region and everything, and he's a real leader in the public health field. So thank you very much, Jim, for getting this done and for our region. It would be a great asset to us.
Yeah, it's
Thank you,
amazing. Jim, if people aren't aware, Jim Philbrook has been, it's, for lack of a better way to put it, a godsend to this community and all of our neighboring communities, the work that he's done. And I can't even imagine where we'd be without him. We're very lucky to have Jim Philbrook.
Especially in the last few years.
Yeah.
That's for sure.
Thank you, Jim.
So within some upcoming bills that are going through the legislature, I just want to make the board aware of a few earmarks that are actually specific for the town of Charlton. One of them being $150,000 for fire station improvements that's included in the FY23 Senate budget. And then another $100,000, or sorry, $1 million for sewer plant upgrades that's inside of the H4916, which is the Transportation, Resources, and Climate. Both these bills are working through the legislative process, and I really just want to thank Senator Fatman, Representative Frost, and Representative Durant for advocating for these, one-time funds that can really go a long way.
Yeah, that'll be a nice win.
Wow.
And then we received bids for the Little Nugget Dam repairs. This included the removal and replacement of the coffer dam and slide gate system. The original estimated cost of construction was $180,000 when we went to town meeting for this approval last fall. The lowest apparent bidder came in at $120,000, so well below the budgeted amount. The bids are currently being evaluated by the town's contracted engineer, Tata and Howard, and will be presented to the board for a recommended award. And also wanted to thank Conservation for their work in coordinating this repair.
Well done.
Nice.
And second to last, the middle school roof repair, they're just an update on the timeline of the vote. So the Dudley Charlton Regional School District did hold a vote on their loan authorization ballot vote on the proposed capital improvement projects. That vote will be on September 6th as a dual election with the state primary election. So as per the district agreement, passage of a loan authorization requires 50% plus one of the voters from both member towns. The vote being considered is not a debt exclusion, but rather just an authorization of the loan. A debt exclusion vote could, at a later date, be considered by the town, but the town's fiscal responsibility for the project would still be committed by the result of the loan authorization ballot vote. So want to make sure that the townspeople are well aware to get out in the primary to vote on this.
Yeah. So Andrew, through a chair, so said another way, Andrew did it nicely, but just to make sure everyone understands, September 6th, Dudley and Charlton go out to vote during the state primary regardless. There's gonna be a question on there that says, obviously I'm paraphrasing, but do you wanna spend money to fix, I'll just say for Charlton, the Charlton Middle School roof and some additional communication and safety stuff? If the combined vote, and, because Dudley's gonna have something similar around their middle school, if the combined vote is 50% plus one across both towns, then the towns respectively are obligated to find a way to pay for it later. How we're gonna pay for it, that'll be up for discussion. But the September 6th vote is simply saying, do you want to force the town to pay for this? If the answer is yes, there is no alternative. It's not like you can go in later and say, well, we changed our minds. No, it's very much so depending on how you feel on this, make sure you go out on the 6th, because if the answer is yes, the Board of Selectmen, FinCom, Andrew, and everyone else is gonna have to find proposal or proposals to actually fund this thing. So, anyway, no, you did a nice job, I just wanted
And then
to
if
have a
if I
different
can
way.
add, and I'm not sure, but when you go on the 6th, due to legal reasons, you may be receiving two ballots, two pieces of paper. So when you go to vote, you make sure you actually get both ballots, two pieces of paper, otherwise you're only participating in one of the ballots.
That's correct.
Yep. And if you have questions,
That'll be a separate ballot
Yeah.
from.
Legally, they can't put it on the
Oh,
federal
yeah,
ballots,
yeah,
so they had to,
yeah.
but we wanted to have it the same day, because we're gonna have good turnouts for midterms, so
It's a good
the way
point.
around it was to have two ballots the same day.
and if you have questions about the ask, reach out to our friends on the school committee.
And then just the last thing I want to bring up, one thing we have seen a large increase, or to say, a relative uptick in the community has been tagging and graffiti, especially in like the skate park area.
I told you to stop.
And the parks area behind the library. We do have some cameras down there, but unfortunately, we can't catch everything. Some things are just done at the wrong times when things aren't caught, but we just want to, basically remind the residents to stay diligent. If they see something, say something, bring it up to the police's attention. We want to make sure that we're pursuing, any time that our public is being defaced, so.
Yeah, and I've as well, I've seen a lot of emails on that, especially in the last 2 weeks. So
So-
if there's,
Are we adding more cameras, is that what's happening?
We are working on trying to add some more cameras. Access to power and all that stuff is always a logistical issue, and making sure that they're monitored and high enough quality that you can actually catch, the face of the person who's doing it. So we are looking at trying to bolster the camera and monitoring system, but until we can get
Like
it.
stakeouts with the cell phone?
but it was also lighting though as well, right?
Well, I think one of the issues was that trying not to give up security issues here, but motion was not being detected in areas during low light that should have been caught. So that's kind of where some of our issues come out of trying to fully be able to find it, trying to go through other ways to still track down the individuals responsible, but we are trying to address some of those issues.
And we did catch one, and they did get
That is
through
correct,
the
yeah.
process, right? Okay.
Mr. Chairman, barring anything else, Jason, are you good? You don't usually hang out with us.
No, just wanted to bring back anything with the chief, with the subcommittee, or
Oh, cool, all right, yeah, gotcha.
taking.
So,
Then Brad, Karen, Don, you guys good? Cool. All
there's
right.
one, under other business unknown, I do have two requests I'd like to make of the board, under other business unknown time of posting. I'm going to make two motions, both of which are the board making a decision tonight to take a future action upon a triggering event. So that in the future, when the triggering event happens, it's automatic. My first motion is to publicly release all executive session records and minutes related to VGG and Charlton Orchard unredacted in their entirety upon a resolution of the current legal matters. What that means is we're voting now in transparency and openness to the public, that once this whole court thing is over, they will automatically be released.
Once it's over.
Correct, so we don't release
So we're
them.
not there, we're pretty far from there yet though.
Well, what happens is, You're just making a decision now to release them when that occurs. You may not be on the board at the time. I may not be on the board at the time. This is this board honoring our promise to the people of Charlton to be transparent and to show integrity.
Oh, no.
So we're simply saying that when that occurs, whether it's in 2 weeks or 2 years, that the board already voted that when that trigger happens, they will be released.
So, through the chair? Generally, I don't have, I have no problem with that at all, but can we table that one till the next meeting? Only-
Can we
Yeah,
make
a little more information
Can we make
on
a
it.
vote without it on the agenda?
Well,
I'm just curious.
It's that, like, it's that unknown business, and my general feeling on those things is that unless it's something that's, I don't want to call it incredibly urgent, that I'd rather have it posted.
Well, so I'll put it this way. My personal belief is that a vote no tonight on this, the only reason to not vote to approve this is if there's a desire to actually not release to the
No,
public.
I don't,
That's my own opinion.
Or it's too early in the game,
I don't
and
have a
there may be
problem
some
But that's
exposure to
why-
the town.
releasing,
There is no
unless,
exposure,
unless
because you're
there's
not
something
releasing
in the
until
legal,
everything's over.
unless there's some sort of agreement legally to not, or something, that on their side, or, I think we need to make sure I have no problem with that, but in case there's something legally that prevents that, I just
I
want to
don't,
make sure.
I don't believe there is, and nothing is released until it's over, so there's no legal jeopardy, because we're not releasing minutes today, we're not releasing anything until this is over and done.
Again,
But then you have to come up with a determination, what means over?
I think it's pretty clear, we're not in court anymore, we're not being sued, there's an agreement, there's a settlement, the judge has decided, this is done, we're over.
I think this needs to get on an agenda item.
And I think it needs to be discussed with.
Because there's a few over.
So, I've made my position on that,
Okay.
and that's fine, so if there's obviously not a second, I'll move on to my second motion. So
I
to me,
but through David, I'm sorry, Mr. Chairman, but if you ask for that for like the next meeting, I'm like happy
well,
to
fine,
have
put
that
this on the agenda for
Yeah.
next meeting, please.
Problem.
Because I'm going to
Oh,
ask for it
yeah.
again.
Yeah, problem
And I'm going to say the same thing at that time, that
Yeah,
a no
yeah, that's
vote is
cool.
a vote to keep things out of the public eye. My second motion is to publicly release all executive session minutes and records related to LNG, unredacted in their entirety, upon the approval of the remaining executive session minutes. I say that because, again, there's a triggering action, we have not actually approved all the executive session minutes yet, but LNG is done. Siting board has ruled, it's final, it's over. So the only exception I'm making to this motion is that it's not done until, A, we approve the minutes, and that, B, anything related to a current discussion around potential taxes, if we're gonna have a tax discussion, won't be included. But everything else, there's absolutely no reason for us to not be releasing those minutes.
We haven't even reached a tax agreement with them yet, though.
That's why I said, if we have any conversations, those will not be included.
Yeah, again, I have no problem with it, I just would prefer to have it as as a
So
discussed
then my
agenda.
request,
Yeah, just,
Mr. Chair and Andrew, I'm gonna make the same request at the next meeting.
Yep.
I'm gonna ask that we have the remaining executive session minutes there for our approval. I'm gonna ask this again, and I'm gonna begin asking this at every single selectmen's meeting for the next 2 years.
Okay.
I haven't,
I'm
can we
not,
just get a legal opinion on whether we should do that or not?
Well,
I mean,
I can have an executive session on the next meeting to approve any of the LNG minutes, and you can release
There's
them
no
the same
reason to
night.
need legal for issues that are over.
I would,
it's not over.
the only.
LNG is over.
We don't know how much are they paying us in taxes?
You just said there wasn't. So I just said, anything, if we're gonna have any conversations around that, they won't be included. Everything else related to the
But you
zoning board
don't, but
is
you don't
final.
you don't think executive session minutes
Absolutely not.
could lead
Anything
to a
related-
tax
No, absolutely not.
benefit
Anything
to
related to
them?
the.
Oh, I do.
No,
I-
anything related to the siting board and the decision, it's over. The siting board's not gonna say, oh, you know what, let's revisit this and have another hearing, maybe we won't let it go in. It's over. So to decide to not release this, pure and simple, that's just keeping it out of the public eye.
David, I'm 100% with you on.
Was the siting board going to revisit this? No. Then there's no reason to not
I'm
release.
100% with
Chairman,
you
I would-
on transparency.
I would ask that we table this.
I'm a little
Then
concerned
that's a
about
vote yes.
exposure.
Yeah, let's just
Then
take
it's a vote yes.
I
There's
would-
no exposure, it's over.
I would ask that we table this discussion until it's posted, and perhaps, if the board wants, we can have a legal review, because I think the only caveat to any of that would be any type of negotiation strategy that could be leveraged in the future, which probably isn't, so my lean would be, release
That's
everything,
exactly,
but
I think.
I would
everything-
much rather have that discussion with.
So, Andrew,
I
look at this for the
agree.
next meeting,
Yeah.
With
and also
counsel.
all the executive session notes, and then please put this on the agenda for every meeting going forward.
Okay. Very good.
Motion to adjourn.
Next meeting, anything else?
No, you're right. Yeah, no, you're right.
Other business unnoted time of posting, I think we covered that pretty well. Next meeting announcement is the Board of Selectmen regular meeting will be August 9th, 2022, 6:30 PM, right here in front of our beautiful faces and
We're still doing August summer schedule, right? So only one? Correct. Cool. No, I just want to make sure we're on the same page. That's cool. Rock and roll. All right, motion to adjourn?
Second the motion.
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thanks, everybody. Thanks, Don.
Mary's.
Andrew?